So we're talking food safety and food security. We had the opportunity to speak to a food technologist today, earlier, which I'm going to be airing the interview pretty shortly. He took us through his job description, his role as a food technologist. He's Gordon Okyere, works at Partners in Food Solutions, and he's the food technology and of course the programs manager. Took us through his work and what he does, and of course the whole issue surrounding the, well, not issues, but how the food industry, how they actually ensure that we get the best food safety and food security and what have you. And I'm going to be airing that in a bit. Then I get back to the studio where my colleagues would also give their take on this particular issue. We would be right back. Stay, listen up. As a food technologist, walk us through your job, your role.
Yeah, thank you, Barry, and thanks for this opportunity. Greetings to all your listeners. Yeah, so as a food technologist, I help to provide needed assistance to food manufacturing companies in the area of food safety management systems. So I usually conduct trainings. I help them do HACCP training for their team to be able to meet international standards as well. I help them with risk assessment, risk communication, and all that. The major purpose is for them to meet food safety regulations based on which country they export into and also locally.
Okay. So you kind of like you do, is it more of like a research on the kind of food that is being produced, the chain production, is that it?
Yeah, so normally I can also provide assistance when it comes to product development.
Okay.
So when the company wants to come up with a new product, I think we help with that assessment as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so that they can have a shelf-stable product.
Okay, right. Yeah. So let's also look at what is safe food, or what are the general standards for, food to be deemed as safe?
Yeah, so for a safe food, it should be any food that will not cause harm to the consumer.
Okay.
So whatever I eat that does not cause any harm to me is considered safe. But for general standards, I think it's a bit broad, but the major requirements for food to be deemed safe include physical, where you don't want to eat and crash stones in the food, or pieces of glass or something. And then food must also be microbiologically safe, so there shouldn't be any bacteria whatsoever that could cause any foodborne disease.
Okay.
And then chemically, the food must also be safe. There shouldn't be any allergens where somebody will react to any chemical in the food, or any food that may have any poisonous chemicals in there. So once any food is following these rules, the food is deemed safe.
Okay, great. So let's also move to the bigger bodies, talk about the institutions that are responsible for monitoring or making checks, on some of these foods that are imported, produced locally. So how different is your work from, say, the Food and Drugs Authority in Ghana here? We have the NAFDAC in Nigeria. We have the FSIS in the US. How different is your work from these organizations?
Yeah, so for institutions like FDA, NAFDAC, and the rest, like FSIS, they are government regulatory institutions, and they are mandated by law to ensure that products on the market meet food safety requirements to ensure public safety. Now, you realize that the onus now lies on the manufacturer to make sure that their food meets such requirements.
Okay.
And that is where I come in as a food tech.
Okay.
And so I am providing guidance. I am working together directly with the manufacturer to make sure that they are meeting these standards. And sometimes I even conduct facility inspections before the regulator comes in. So by the time the regulator comes in, the manufacturer is confident that, yes, they have done the right thing right from the onset.
Okay.
They are going to meet these regulatory standards.
Right. So they don't need to be, threatened or, have the
No.
fear of the food being or whatever they've produced being flagged and all of that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So do you do so on a normal basis? You're supposed to be doing that in partnership with the producers or the manufacturers.
Yes, ideally, every
Mm.
manufacturer is supposed to have a technical person in place
Okay.
who understands these technical requirements.
Mm.
But we find it a bit challenging locally because sometimes it's difficult to even pay them. And so we come in
You mean
to
pay
provide.
the food technologist, yes?
Yes, it's,
Mm.
I mean, for startups and for even existing manufacturers,
Right.
sometimes it's difficult to keep these food quality experts
Mm.
in their facility because it's difficult to keep them and pay them.
Okay. Mm.
Yeah, so we do provide these services from time to time just to
Okay.
buttress. Yeah.
All right. All right. Okay. So let's also talk about food safety in Africa. What are some of the threats?
Wow. So I think with threat to food safety in Africa,
Mm.
I'll talk basically about the food safety management systems.
Okay.
That is a bigger threat.
Mm-hmm.
Reason being that these food safety management systems in most African countries are usually they are weak
Mm-hmm.
and they lack coordination, and generally you find that they are even fragmented. So
Mm.
you have different institutions performing same roles and they are overlapping responsibilities here and there.
Okay.
So with that, it
Mm.
doesn't actually provide enough adequacy and, let's say, effectiveness
Right.
to protect the health of the consumers. And also it doesn't even enhance competitiveness of the products on the international market.
Mm.
Yeah, we can talk about so many things, including like logistics for facility inspections,
Okay.
where you find that a government regulatory institution doesn't have some of these logistics to even help their own staff to be able to undertake such inspections.
Right.
Yeah, we can talk about food legislation challenges. We can talk about national food safety policy challenges.
Mm.
Even science-based risk assessment for food safety and all that.
Right.
So it's a big challenge, but all boils down to the food safety management systems that is weak.
Mm. Okay, so finally, let's also look at solutions, to.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, could you differentiate between food security and food safety for me?
So food safety is actually, like I earlier said, eating food that will not cause any harm to you.
Mm.
But food security is making food available throughout the season.
Okay.
And yeah, so working hard to make sure that in as much as we are consuming safe food, we still have food throughout the year.
Okay.
Without any outbreak of, let's say, famine or hunger.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So by that you'd find elements of food safety in food security because in as much as we want food throughout the year, we should also be looking for safety foods. Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Great. So lastly, just tell us what are some of the things that you think can be done to ensure food security as well as food safety, because I mean every now and then we hear issues of shortage in food production, lack of rainfall, for instance, in our base Ghana, and of course other sub-regions where it's time for the rains to start falling, but unfortunately this is not happening. So what are some of the solutions here in terms of food security as well as the food safety that we can also do to move forward?
Yeah, thank you. So I think that on the side of food safety,
Mm.
I'll hit again on the food safety management systems.
Okay.
Usually, every food safety management system has two major goals. And the first one is to protect the health of consumers.
Right.
And the second one is to actually make the products competitive on the international market as well as even on the local market.
Okay.
Now, because of this weakness that I talked about, one of the solutions is that government must engage all the stakeholders involved in the whole process. And by this, I'm talking about stakeholders in the food chain process. So from farmers through to producers to marketers and all that. Okay. Now, by engaging these stakeholders, you'll be able to identify their challenges, why we are unable to even implement some of our food safety management systems.
Okay.
And then we can work together with them and then make sure that food is safe. And then also we can increase our international food trade.
Right.
And then also with food security, I think that it's important we engage the same stakeholders. They have the actual challenges on the farms. It could be irrigation, it could be seeding, it could be anything. But I think it's important for these engagements, stakeholder engagements, to take place from time to time, so that you'll be able to update yourselves what these challenges are, and then you find mitigation measures as well.
Africa, ẹ̀yin
African mọ èyí ni àsọ̀rọ̀mágbèsì tó wá láti Áfíríkà fún orílẹ̀-èdè àgbáyé. This is Africa Global Radio.
All right, this is Africa Global Radio, live on africaglobalradio.com from our base, Accra, Ghana, to the rest of the world. Welcome if this is your first time joining us on the show. And today we're looking at food safety and food security, which is a day that was observed yesterday internationally. And theme for the theme for this year is food safety today for a healthy tomorrow. Stresses that production and consumption of safe food has immediate and long-term benefits for people, the planet, and the economy. So, very important. And you just heard the voice of Gordon Okyere, a food technologist, walked us through his job, his role, and of course what he does, as a food technologist, as well as, how it works in the food industry. So let me start with Hafiz as we continue with the rest of the conversation. Hafiz.
Yeah.
Safety.
Food technologist.
Yeah. Charlie, there's a lot of job
descriptions,
eh?
Yeah.
But I think his job or what he does is very, very significant.
I mean, I think if not for this whole conversation surrounding it, I never knew there was something like a food technologist.
Yeah.
Clap for yourself.
Yeah, we know you know. Don't worry, you don't have to say it.
Yeah, and as expected, he dealt with the topic seamlessly.
Yeah.
I mean, he basically just breezed through.
Yeah.
Some of the questions he threw at him, and usually I enjoy contributors that are
they know they're yeah.
Yes, and so I'm not going to add much, but talking about food safety, I mean it's become it's become an important part of policy.
Yeah.
Yes, and largely we can say due to the rapid urbanization that we've seen in economies like these growing economies such as ours. I mean, these days there's an especially good increase in the number of people that want food on the go. So you're talking about your instant noodles to tea and everything. So people simply, just because of the hustle and bustle of
the heat in town generally.
Exactly, and work life and everything. So and this whole situation has also led to some sort of complications in sort of managing food safety risk.
Okay.
And yes, so he's dealt with the conversation. I mean, there's so much he has said that he has covered already. But the little I'll add is, I mean, for example, if you're talking about even, the little complications like I mentioned, if you take a staple like fufu.
Yeah.
Yes, I think fufu. Look at what we've done with fufu. Now, fufu, the traditional preparation, you would have your mortar and pestle to help you pound.
Yeah.
Now, I think later on we tried to do something
more easier.
Yes, easier, where we try to put it
into a machine.
Not even before the machine, need fufu and everything.
Yeah.
Yes, and before now these days, like you mentioned, there's the machine. Yes, a machine pounding a fufu pounding.
It doesn't pound it; it grinds it.
Whatever. I mean, no, but some pound.
Really?
Yes, there is small. Yes, that goes like that. Yes, depending on which machine you find.
Okay.
Yes, and I remember, and because of the way this whole thing has, transformed the way we prepare this food. I mean, it has exposed certain, food safety concerns.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember somewhere last year. Yes, I caught it on the news. Unfortunately, that is on the news about a research that was conducted by, I think, the biotech department of the agric faculty of UDS.
Okay.
Yes, and they conducted a research on these, aids that we use in preparing these foods, especially the fufu
Okay.
pounding machine.
Okay.
And they didn't just stop there; they went ahead to conduct a research on, I think, even the pepper grinding ones as well.
Right.
Yes, and they discovered that these machines were a hotbed for the spread of salmonella. So it was very concerning. Yes, and salmonella is usually one of those bacterial diseases that affects the intestines. So, so it was very concerning because looking at the number or the numbers that go out there to, just to grind or pound their fufus out there, and the number of people that also go out there to employ the services of these third party guys that would grind your pepper or your garden eggs or whatever. So, but by and large, I mean, he covered it all. I mean, there's nothing more to say.
All right, thank you. The show is Africa Daily on Africa Global Radio. If you have any contributions on any opinions you want to share, do so through our Facebook page, Africa Global Radio. Let me get on to Epi, then to Mommy later on. Epi.
Sorry.
I mean, we talked about, how some what do you call it? Those sellers of the market expose
the food to the sun.
the vegetables, this and that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's very important. Food safety is everything, though. If you've ever fallen sick from eating something that was not unhealthy, I mean, you know how terrible it is. Especially, like, say, you get cholera from eating some food. It's bad. It's terrible. And to this year, the theme basically is like safe food for a healthy tomorrow. Yes. And I believe, look, our health is everything. People are exercising and all that, but then what you put in is the key thing. What you eat matters a lot, and how safe it is. Sometimes people don't want to purchase food from vendors outside because if you've had first-hand experience with caterers, or you actually gone to the market and see some of these, the kind of tomatoes and things they purchase, and then they actually go and grind it and come and use it for the stew.
Yeah.
You can't look at the stew and say this one you use rotten tomato.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, it's gone through the different additions. It's gone on fire and all that. You won't be able to know. And then sometimes some of them are compelled to make some of these choices because if you want to buy the correct one, the price is high. And if they're looking at the large number of food they are going to serve, then that means they're going to run at a loss in a way. So then,
buying
But-
something that is
but-
that's
you know-
see, that's what I'm saying. That's the argument they
So,
make.
so one would say, look, if you
Mm.
see the tomatoes or the pepper or whatever it is that they use in preparing some of these foods that we buy outside,
You'll be scared.
you would never buy
Yeah.
anything outside again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You'd
and
be
even where
scared.
the grinding mill or whatever is located,
Especially the ones
Lord have
in the
mercy.
middle of the marketplaces.
Lord have mercy.
So sometimes
All right.
it's very important that you contribute to the type of food you eat. And not everybody will have the opportunity to cook or to be able to prepare something, but as much as you can input, or if you know somebody you can entrust with it,
Right.
it's better than to just always be relying on what's happening outside. Because look, most of the things people do out there, not everybody is cooking with your safety in mind.
No.
And first off, you are responsible for how safe your food
Your
is
food is, yeah.
before
Yeah.
anybody else. And if your food is not safe and you fall sick, that's money you're going to spend at the hospital.
Right.
And your health is going to suffer because of that. So if we actually want to be healthy, we should be more conscious about what we are eating, where we are eating from, the kind of places we go to. It's not like you go and eat at places and there's so many half flies around. Sometimes it's just by a gutter.
Yeah.
And then you're just sitting there. Then the main focus is
If
the
you
food
say
is
the
good.
gutter there, actually, I mean, you'll be closing down a lot of business.
Well,
You say the gutter makes it nice.
I believe the gutter she's referring to is the uncleaned gutter because we have a lot of gutters in
Oh,
town.
we have some gutters
But
that
that
are
are very well
dried. Some of
clean.
them are dried and clean.
Yeah.
You say what?
But doesn't make selling by a gutter, right?
No, but we have a lot of gutters that are closed.
You see, but
How
you
are
see
the open ones?
there are some people
Are you
who
supposed to
literally
sell there?
cross. So who gave
That's
them
what I'm
the, who
saying.
gave
There
them
are
the
so many
permission to
that
go
are-
and sell there?
Right.
You see,
Anyway.
and then I think one thing too that I feel we should also look at is the spices we eat, what we eat in our foods. Sometimes we jump to, it's nice what we're eating, but are you concerned about what really went into it? We have organic things, natural things that people use. You have the herbs and the spices, but we have the chemical spices.
Yeah.
For lack of a better choice of words, the monosodium and all those things, you have them in different quantities, and people tend to put a lot in the food. And over a long, you take this consistently, as you age, it starts having an effect on your health.
Right.
Your BP, your blood sugar, so many things.
Well, it was after the interview that I thought about a particular question that I wanted to ask, and that has to do with fine. The food or whatever it is has been checked by the Food and Drugs Authority, certified to go out there to the general public. But don't we sometimes, misappropriately use them by mixing them? Or because recently there was this, yeah, what do you call it? There was this, what do you call it, ceremony at my house, yes, and then they started preparing, and you should see. So one of the lady was telling me that you people used color. I'm like, color in jollof? How
Yeah,
could you?
we have
How can
jollof
you
colour.
color your jollof? Why are you supposed to use the red tomato to give it the color it needs?
But
But
that's
that's
why
what
they
they.
can't buy a lot of tomatoes.
So
So then
why-
they mix the color.
So what color is it? What's the components of the color? Like
it's a
from
powder.
where?
It's a powder. They go to the market and they
Oh
buy it.
God. Anyway, so you see where the problem
No,
also.
even like it's the worst thing. How about the preparation of cowpea? You add paracetamol
Yes.
To the food.
To make it
as a
Soft-
catalyst.
softer.
soften it.
Yeah, some people actually use
faster.
some people also use the saltpeter.
No, for cow, I think is something that we
Some people
sometimes
use
take.
but some people use it in excess. And
But
other
that's
people,
fine.
No,
Why-
but paracetamol.
I think
That's
it's
boo. Anyway, let me get to mommy.
They're hitting your headache in advance.
I think so because the food will maybe. Mommy,
Barry.
food safety, food security.
What is cowpea?
Cowpea,
Adwa.
adwa.
I don't know Adwa.
She doesn't
What is
know the
Adwa?
English one. I seen her
Oh,
one.
bougie.
Cowpea
Anyway.
is the English. So if you don't know the English, I can't help you.
Like which?
What
How?
does it look
Can you
like?
can you
Describe
describe?
Are you
it?
being cowpea is adwa? Is there any name for adwa? Yeah.
I said describe the
said
food.
describe
I
the
didn't
thing.
say.
It looks like beans.
Like bigger beans.
It's smaller, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
No, adwa
Are
is
you,
a
are you
bit
sure
bigger
you're not
than
talking
beans.
about bambara beans?
Ah, yeah, that's the
Right.
bambara beans. That's the white bigger ones, yeah.
You are talking
Oh,
about
that's bambara beans.
You-
It's smaller.
You don't know what?
Cowpea.
You don't even
very
know what
small.
cowpea is.
Nah,
They just
I
call me bougies. You don't even know what cowpea is.
I
They're
thought-
calling me
I
bougies.
thought.
That's it.
No, hold on.
He's
I thought.
confused about
Well,
it.
wait. What's your problem, Hafiz? Why are you laughing?
What did I say?
So for for
guy
my
doesn't know what
for
to
how do you call it? For my well for the
It's
well
not
I thought the bambara was the cowpea.
So what is the cowpea?
I don't know. Forget it. Mommy, I'm on your side now. I'm on your side now.
Describe it.
I mean, yeah.
It's
Gordon
just way
spoke.
smaller, but very difficult to prepare. So for those, I mean, it can take several hours to prepare. Yes, and so for those that wanted to, prepare very fast.
Faster. They add
Yes.
paracetamol.
Yes, they add
There's
paracetamol.
another thing to the I've forgotten.
Anyway,
I'll check.
well.
Mommy, let's hear you.
Okay, so I don't think there's any more. I can add more to. Gordon spoke a lot. Hafiz
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Epi,
Mm.
Mama Passion. She speaks with so much passion.
Yeah.
Well,
But I'd just like to say that food safety is a shared responsibility.
Mhm.
We can't just say, because I don't know where the tomato is coming from. You should watch where you eat.
Right.
The things that you put in your system. I mean, it's a shared responsibility between governments, between the producers, and between the consumers as well.
Yeah.
All of us have to do our possible best to ensure that the things we are putting into our system
Okay.
and things we are feeding our children
Mm.
are safe.
Safe for consumption.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm also thinking, so for the food technologists, I think they are mostly involved in this packaged, foods and what have you. I want to believe that. Because for Food and Drugs Authority, the manufacturer, as he said, he works with the manufacturer.
yeah.
Checks, makes research, and just to make sure that it doesn't get flagged when it gets to the Food and Drugs Authority.
I
and
get
all
your
that.
point. In a more formal setting, you mean?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Where
So
there
what
are
about
structures. So
exactly?
how
What about
those on the
these
roads?
rotten tomatoes and pepper we have on our street? Is it that we don't have offices? Maybe we do, but I don't think they are being very
I don't
active
think-
enough.
Because I don't think before anybody takes their produce to the market, they will take it to an office to get it checked.
But
So
don't
I
you think
what
it
they
should?
can do
Uh-huh.
is to go to these marketplaces.
That is the only way, because I don't think
Because
everybody can just
I will not
parade
carry
in a
my
queue.
cassava
Yeah.
To your market
to your office and
No, I
say
don't.
check it
I
before
don't think
go
it can
sell
be done that way. The other way around is just as you mentioned.
But I don't
We
think
should
they
get
do
offices.
that,
No, they
because
don't.
if they were
They don't.
doing that,
Uh-huh.
we wouldn't be seeing all of these rotten tomatoes and
No.
you know the sad part. It's like you go to the market
Uh-huh.
and then the good ones are put in a bowl. And then they have a price for that.
Yes.
Exactly.
Then the rotten one
the-
is
on the
sold
sack
for
on the
cheaper.
floor, yes.
Already,
Then it's
even in the market,
on
there's
the
a division
sack on
of
the floor,
society.
yes, on the sack
It's
on
like
the
there are
floor.
states. Yeah, there are
And you have
levels.
people come and purchase it. You know, in
And you know-
large
Now,
numbers.
wait, do you produce tomatoes in Ghana? No.
We don't. We
import them.
yeah. Most of them from Burkina
From
Faso.
Burkina
Oh
Faso,
yes,
we
yes,
don't
yes,
produce
yes,
tomatoes.
yes.
Yes.
Yes,
And
from
recently
Burkina
they even
Faso.
they even threatened they were going to stop because they were getting attacked by armed robbers on the way. So
So where do we go? That explains why how expensive. You
exactly.
know.
so you don't produce them here.
our-
Because these
our
days,
parents,
We
our
have
mothers
some
talk about.
smallholder farmers that actually produce.
No, but
they
how?
farm some-
But
You
how?
don't
How
produce
much?
tomatoes in
large,
Ghana.
yeah.
How
because
much in
right
commercial
now,
in commercial
one
quantities?
tomato is
No,
one
even
cedi.
Yeah.
what you call it?
I know.
Onions. Onions all the way from Niger. All the way, yeah, from Niger. You find the Zabarma man busy selling his onions.
When you go to Agoglo,
Yes.
they have aligned it everywhere,
If-
everyone, and then the amounts they sell.
So
it
for
you.
all these food sellers,
It's
vendors, and what have you, they buy in
Bad.
larger quantities. They know the Zamarma men who sell them in
They-
larger
yes.
quantities, and
But
those
I-
from
I
Burkina Faso
think-
and
I
everything.
think there should be a
I-
system.
I think as we are talking about food safety being a shared responsibility, especially on the part of government,
Yeah.
I think we should do our best to cultivate some of these things we eat.
In our
Because
backyards.
the importation is like sometimes you're importing and before it gets here, because the roads are terrible or because of one situation or because of
And
another
sometimes
situation,
they get
the food gets
get
here and
spoiled.
it's rotten.
Yeah.
And then I mean I
Because-
have to make returns
Because
on my
the
money,
borders,
so I would sell
the
it
issue,
anyway.
the issue some of them face at the borders is no joke. I remember when Nigeria closed their borders. You know, there are a lot of things that were supposed to get in or go out, and these things stood there for how many? I think over a year. Some some of the goods over there got spoiled. You know, and unless a God-fearing individual who would actually, oh, you know what, let's just do away with these
That's
things.
true,
Someone
yeah.
wouldn't want to run at a loss, so they will have to.
Oh, most
No,
people
you
are
see-
try
choosing
these
to-
things.
And these things actually occur when you have a top-down approach to solving some of these issues. It should rather be a bottom-up. Because
Right.
when you sit at the top, you are out of touch with the reality of the people.
On the
Absolutely,
ground,
yes.
exactly.
So clearly you can see some of the policies is made by someone that is up there and is clueless about what exactly
What's
goes on.
happening?
Exactly. So and they take these and unfortunately for us, they wield power.
Yeah.
So they take these policies up and then it affects everyone in the
In
chain.
a file and he holds it to his armpits
Yes.
and he walks around. It's hell yeah, that is the AF
You know,
So
thingy.
a lot of research and also having to have extension services.
Very, very
Yes,
important
to these
Very,
folks
very
that are
important.
out there, and even organizing seminars, workshops for food vendors every now and
Exactly.
then on personal hygiene. You'll be surprised at what happens at all these vantage sale points.
All right.
It-
Well,
it
so,
just-
yeah.
It just reminds me of one of the good news stories we did in was it Nigeria also, where they actually created something like a cold storage for those who bought the vegetables and then
Yeah.
they farm vegetables and
Yeah,
fruit so that
yeah.
it extends the lifespan of these
These
because I
stuff,
feel
yeah.
if things like this are being put in place
Mhm.
and these people are being like if we organize the markets and all these properly, sometimes it would help.
I think there's a whole lot of things that we just
The
see,
whole-
we
the whole
just
system has
neglect
to be-
to
we
go
have to
to
shake up.
waste in our space.
Shall we?
There's a whole lot of stuff. Look at the lands that we even have. They are just lying down there, staring at us.
Sometimes you go to the market,
Someone
like,
would
you're
say-
working on food stuff.
Anyway, thank you. Thank you very much, guys. We're running out of time, but yeah, thank you. Okay, mommy, want to wrap it up?
I'd just like to say governments should do their best to ensure
Mm-hmm.
that the citizens start something like subsistence farming. I mean, planting tomatoes, planting pepper in your backyard.
Now that everybody's styling their yard, how can you? Where would you get to plant?
I mean,
I'm serious. Everybody's busy tiling their yard.
my yard is
Concrete.
my yard is not tiled, and what my mom does is if she uses tomatoes,
She pours.
she pours the
So
seeds,
it
and
grows
before you know it,
naturally. I
something
think we
is
have the same in
growing.
our house as
Our
well.
place like this, I remember last time we bought contombe because we've planted them there.
Mm.
We have pepper and then tomatoes as
So
well.
let's just
you have to
encourage.
Yeah, I think it's a
because
brilliant
then
idea.
We're not going to the market
At
and
least you
then
get to taste
buying one
fresh.
tomato for 1 cedi.
It's not even about buying. Even if it's out one CD and it's fresh, it's healthy to consume, that's fine.
No,
It may be there.
don't even say that right now. 1 for 1 cedi. Don't go there.
I'm just-
I mean,
why are you taking it
if you
personal?
need like 20,
why would I take it
I'm just
personal?
saying that
you're buying
if,
20 cedis, that's
but
20
what is
cedis.
more important here? Is it your health or what you're spending?
Both are important.
They run as a proportion.
Yes.
All right.
I mean,
Because it's
They
going to
move
get
simultaneously.
yes.
Yeah?
It's get expensive to take care of your health.
You
I
need to
should
spend.
eat-
You need to spend.
I'm saying is gradually, if it goes like that, it's going to become expensive to take
Uh-huh.
care of your health.
But isn't that? Are we we're already on that route,
no, but
aren't
how,
we?
how would it be if you're getting like 4 for 1 CD or 3 for 1 CD?
Well, let's
they are
encourage our own
good.
production generally. I
I'm
think.
Yeah,
so.
that's what she's saying.
I am not.
consistency
Yeah.
Yes,
is
it should be good. 'Cause
Okay.
then
Thank
nobody's
you.
adding color to their jollof.
Yeah, no
to make
color.
it-
Yeah, the color thing. You better stop it. And they were telling me it was really nice. I'm like, yeah, go on, color up. Thank you. The show is Africa Daily on Africa Global Radio, but trust me, it's green, yes. And this week on Friday, there's more to talk about on the issue of greening and encouraging, afforestation here in our base. There's going to be more on that on the show, so look out for that.
Enjoy the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.